Hello and welcome to episode 45 of building a 2D multiplayer game in Flutter. In the last episode, we basically added the ability for the player to shoot, and we basically were only rendering these and simulating these bullets on the client side via client side prediction, right? Using the same controller code that will run on the server, but we didn't really get into having the server actually update its own game state and obviously also sending the updates of bullets flying around to the client. So at this point, one player cannot see that the other player is shooting. You cannot see the bullets of the other player. So that's what we're going to focus on in this episode. Um, just to basically what we need to do first is I want to first look at the server code to make sure that we actually are correctly handling these things. So we have the game loop, and in the game loop we have something called sync player inputs. So whenever the player actually will spawn a bullet, right, we need to then spawn one as well. So here we have applied thrust, but we do not have we have spawn bullet here. So we kind of started that last time, but we didn't basically finish it yet. So here we have this spawn bullet. And so this spawn bullet, though, is used in multiple places. It's used here, and it's used also on the client side. So the client, we don't want to wait for the server to actually acknowledge that a bullet has been spawned. We want to be able to say, immediately on the client side, start predicting this bullet, start showing us this bullet, so we don't have to wait for that. But now also on the server side, we need to actually spawn this bullet for this player. So this should actually, so what we'll do just to see how far this actually already works without us even worrying too much about it, we'll just launch as a server. We'll make sure that our level, the simple level that we have, only has one player, and then we'll just start a player, and we'll just basically watch the server log when we fire a shot or a bullet. And assuming that the server is actually aware of bullets, right? So once we have that, then basically we need to figure out whenever the server sends us the game state, it needs to include the location of bullets. So right now we have our player. Now let's go to the server and see if we get a bullet spawn or not. So here at that, we shoot a bullet, and actually this is working, right? So this is on the server logging. Obviously we're logging also on the client. We spawn the bullet. We can actually compare this data here. If it's like the same, right? So it looks like it's the same. So the server spawned the same bullet. Obviously this will be a little bit different once we start moving, because so now we spawned the bullet, and the server thought we were at 6 plus 20, let's say, right? And it's pretty close. Even though we don't send our location directly, but this seems to work pretty well. So now we can basically say, okay, the server is aware of the bullets. And now we could also assume that once we have these bullets, since the server is using the same controller code as the client, that it is actually already simulating these bullets. So right now there are bullets flying on the server, just that we don't actually update this. We don't sync the client with this. So what we actually want to do is to really get a quick handle on if this is working or not. What we'll do is on the client, we don't do this. Let me see if this will actually work. So if we don't spawn the bullet, right? So the spawn bullet is this one. So we add the bullet here. Okay, so the question is, so this is fine, right? So basically the client game state now will not know about this bullet being spawned. It will need to learn about it from the server. So if I now restart our client, or hard restart it, just hard restart it here, and basically now if I shoot, nothing happens, right? Because the client doesn't now simulate the bullet, but the server knows for sure that bullets have been spawned. Now all we need to do is we need to make sure that actually we include this information when we send the game state to the client. So let's start looking actually at our message bus. It's the best place to start, where basically we're looking at the game state. So we have a packed game state. The packed game state right now only has players. That's a problem. We need to also basically have bullets. One might argue that it is pretty expensive for the server to keep sending these bullets up, because we could basically just say, well, a bullet has been spawned here, and we know that the bullet can never change velocity ever, right? So basically the client should be able to, theoretically, to perfectly predict where the bullets go, right? Where the bullets are going. So we could also just say that the server basically just sends clients information about spawned bullets, and then they basically update themselves to that. However, we only have like maybe, hey, Slappy, that's a difficult name. Just feel free to ask away if you have questions, right? Welcome to the stream. What I wanted to say is that we only have maybe like up to 4 players here, right? And even if you fire bullets, Slappy. Okay, I'll call you Slappy then. So if you fire a lot of bullets, probably we won't overwhelm us too much. So it's probably fine. But I'm just pointing this out because that would be another option, right? We basically just send the client all the spawned bullets, and then the client basically simulates them all on the client side, and the server just basically updates also if the bullet hits something, because we don't want the client to we want the client maybe to say that it hit a wall, but we don't want the client to basically dictate that it hit another player, because that would allow cheating again. So yes, Lappy, just keep watching. We are building a game here. We are using Flutter and Dart. And just keep watching, and if you have any questions, ask away. So what we need to do, we need to basically have something like a packed bullet model. I said packed, right? And I meant packed. So it needs to be something like this. And then we call that bullets. And so if you look at the packed player model, we can actually, what we'll do is I'm going to close this, and we're going to split the view here a little bit and make this a little bit bigger. And we're going to actually look at the bullet model, and then we'll see how we can derive a packed bullet model from that. Bullet model. And you see there's no packing going on yet. And so, but what we need basically in the packed bullet model is something like we need to know the velocity of the bullet. Actually, quite honestly, the client may not have to know the velocity of the bullet, right? The client only needs to know. Actually, yes, the client needs to know the velocity. And why does the client need to know the velocity? Is because in order to do client-side prediction, right? If you just update the position of the bullet all the time, then the client has no clue of what should happen in between, right? Like it doesn't know how to simulate the bullet flying. So it needs to know the velocity and it needs to know the current position. So these things we need to know. The collided one is actually interesting because the client can basically figure out himself if the bullet collided or not, right? But maybe we'll send that along as well. But for now, actually, we'll just let the client handle collisions for now. Let's see if that works. Okay, so if we go to, actually, I'm going to open that over here. Player model, we should have the packed player model as well. So what we actually need to do, we need to rerun our proto generator and get these. Okay, so bullet, packed bullet, okay, yeah, fine. We need to go back here and basically need to say, we need to define this, right? So we have a packed player model, and the packed bullet model will be somewhat similar. So I'm just actually going to copy that here. I'm going to put that below. So Slappy, this is actually IntelliJ. So I'm using a paid version of IntelliJ, but for Flutter development, actually, you can just use the free version. You can download that. And yeah, it's basically fully featured. You could also use Android Studio. And yeah, but I basically tweaked it. I have Vim bindings here because I'm usually a Vim guy, and I tweaked the color scheme and all these things. But yeah, so IntelliJ, I have the ultimate one. I think the other one is called Community, so you can easily install that and play with that. And sorry I didn't see your question until now, but keep asking, and whenever I see them, I'll answer them. So let's see. So we need the type position, the velocity, and that's pretty much all we need for now. And so the question is why it is complaining. Why is it complaining? Oh, because we need to rename it. All right, cool. And just to let you know, like there are plugins that are installed, right, that you can install here. So there's obviously the Flutter plugin, the Dart plugin. I also installed a plugin related to Proto. So that's how I got this this message here that something was wrong in my Proto file. Yeah, okay. So yeah, but just it's all magic for all of us actually, and so just keep watching and hopefully get motivated to write more programs. Okay, so we got the back bolt model. We need to rerun our script, and now we need to actually create. It's just like, the same way we do this here. And actually, I'm going to really just copy because it's so similar. And some of you might argue, oh, okay, you need to pull this into a reusable thing, whatever. But we already talked about this. Sometimes you actually don't want to do that too soon because you are trying to make things reusable, and then suddenly you can't change them because they're both using the same thing. And then maybe in one area you want to actually change things, and then you can't anymore because now you're they all depend on the same code. So I learned to basically wait a little bit until trying to do that too much. Okay, so let's see. We need a packed bullet model. So we don't need an ID. And that's actually an interesting thing though. Do we need to know whose bullet it is? We don't need to know whose bullet it is, right? Because the client just needs to know that there's a bullet and it's flying, and I need to simulate, and if it hits anything, like a wall, I'll play a collision animation. The client is not responsible for figuring out if someone needs to die or anything like that, right? So that's all the server doing it. So this actually makes it a lot easier. So we have the type position. We don't have an angle in this one. We need to import this one. And we need to, I thought I already just imported that, didn't I? Oh, we may have imported something else. So I'm actually going to put the show combinator. Okay. Yeah, so we have the packed player. We don't want that. We want the packed bullet model. And that's what happens if you copy code. Then sometimes things get confused. But now basically here we want to have the bullet model. Actually, we just change player to bullet, and that should fix most of these. Okay, so we have a packed bullet model. Why is this not happy yet? Okay, it comes from somewhere else. That is really weird. I'm just going to remove all these imports. I want to figure this out in a second. Okay, but this is all good. This is all good. We are pretty much set if the imports work. So that's like the really weird, right? Oh, you know what's going on? I think it's because we just regenerated our thing, and it is sometimes slow to figure out that this is actually fine. So we may have to restart this guy. Maybe it updates. Otherwise, okay. So now it's happier, right? And so we put a show. So basically, the analysis server didn't update yet to the fact that we regenerated something. And let's see what else is going on here. So we don't have an angle. Oh, wow. What is going on here? I think I've never seen that before. Maybe, okay, let's look at our proto and figure out what's going on here. Packed bullet model. It looks good. And then let's see, repeat it, packed bullet model, bullets. That should work. What I'm actually going to do is I'm going to have to stop everything, unfortunately. And I'm going to just restart. I'm going to close this project and I'm going to restart the entire IntelliJ. Because sometimes it's just slow. So updating these kind of things. So let's see. Let's load this one. Okay, let's hope for the best now. Okay, so we didn't get that other annoying warning anymore. Okay, so now, but this shows me that the server is not at all sending anything yet, because obviously it's not, because we didn't even have that type yet. So we need to figure out where are we actually sending this. So in the game state, right, when we pack the game state, we need to include that information. So we have a pack, and you can see that we have bullets, right? But we're not including them when we pack. So all we have to do is bullets. Game state dot bullets, and very confused how this works. So we get the values. Oh, because this is a map. So we cannot just easily map it. So what we actually need to do just here is to map it and say let's see if it's happy about that. So we have bullets, which is a list of bullet model. So why is it not happy? Missing type element. Okay, why do you want this? Maybe. Okay, so it's not happy for some reason. Let's see, do we have a pack method on it? We do. Okay, so what do you want to know? You want to know what you're mapping to. Okay, so it's going to be a packed bullet model. And why do you think it's dynamic? Because this is a bullet model, so you should know. Okay. I'm wondering, let me move this over here. I'm wondering why this is not happy. What? I'm not sure what that even makes sense. Okay, this is our pack thing. Returning a packed bullet model. Hold on a second. So yeah, we had that before, right? So basically what's going on is we can't, so the game state, when the pack game state gets created, it already has a list of stuff but that we can't assign. I think that's why we had it in this weird way. So we actually need to say is game state, and that now it just does make sense. basically we're getting this as the pack game state. So maybe we should rename that pack state. Let's just rename pack state so we know which is which. And so now actually what we need to do is pack state, and this basically our bullets, not from the pack state. And then we also don't want to map because we can't easily do that. So we actually want to do a for each. And now we can probably remove this, and we just say that bs dot add this one pack, and then we return that, and that should make it happy now. So Dart is kind of not necessarily Dart, but the gRPC API is kind of weird in that sense, where it doesn't allow us to assign these. So if we go actually here, we can see that it's just a getter. We can't assign them, right? It's a read-only getter, so we can only then add to them or remove. So so now we are packing. Now obviously we need to unpack. So here we create a new game state, and we and the things actually I want to point out that this is one way to do it, and it's very easy to read, and this is a shorter way to do it. So here, since we are using for this kind of for loop for the players, we're going to do the same for the bullets. And it seems to be not happy with bullets. Okay. And then basically we say that the bullet model is basically the bullet model dot unpack. And you can see this is like the same exact way of doing things. And then we basically say game state dot add bullet model, and then we return the game state. So at this point now, basically when the server is packing the game state, it will include the bullets, and then when the client is unpacking the game states, it will get the bullets. So the game state unpack is called when we basically get the game state here. You can see that we're syncing, and so let's just make sure when we're syncing, we get the game state that we update our bullets, which we are not yet, right? So basically what we need to do is we need to say for, and this will just already be a bullet, game state dot. It's a little different for the players. What we need to do, we need to add them. Okay, so actually here we're doing something. So here we're assigning this to, what I actually want to do is I just want to overwrite the bullets altogether. We don't need to keep state of the bullets at all. So what I'm going to say is I'm going to say bullets dot bullets. What am I doing? Okay, so in this case we don't need to do anything, I think. We get the game state from the server, right? And I think that should be it. Or do we actually assign? Oh no, we are assigning out. So this is confusing. The client game state extends from game state. And so we actually need to assign these bullets to our bullets. So bullets is basically the game state, right? And this again comes down to naming. But we're going to do it, we're going to say server state. Now it's very clear that this has come from here. And now you can see that, okay, our bullets are actually read-only. So what I actually want to do is I want to clear them. Okay, clear or something. And then I want to basically assign. We're going to do this like this. Bullet of in basically the server state bullets. And then we want to basically, so we had a game state at bullet, right? Yeah, we just added. It's probably clearer. So obviously this sucks. I don't like this. What we're going to do is we're going to actually we're going to have a method just clear bullets, and just to basically not just mess directly with this bullets list. It just seems a little bit dirty. Didn't like it. So here now we can say clear bullets. We could also have a sync bullets method that does exactly that, but we are fine. So now actually what should happen is when the server sends the bullets up, which it now includes, we should actually update ourselves with that. Which means the best way to try this is to just launch a server and a client, and we're just going to have one. And remember, we still have client-side prediction turned off. So remember, like in the game controller, we basically don't shoot a bullet directly. We don't spawn a bullet directly here. Right? Let's see. Spawn bullet. Spawn bullet, right? But basically, we don't add this to our game state. All we're doing, we're sending the information to the client that to the server that the player spawned a bullet. So the only way this would work now is if the server actually understands, and we saw that it does understand that we're spawning a bullet, but now if the server also sends us updates about the bullets that we spawn. That's the only way we should see. Oh, why? Okay, so something is weird. It has to do with this copy width. So it has to do with this empty thing. I don't even know where this empty is coming from anymore. Let me see if we're actually using... Okay, so somehow it's still launched. I don't know if we actually launched a new version. And we're shooting. So we must have launched a new version. This is coming from the client, from the server. Now we can see this. If we shoot and we kind of move really fast, sometimes we might shoot. Okay, now it's stopped. Okay. It doesn't seem to be so reliable. It works though. But I still need to clean this up, obviously. There's something going on. Let's see. Where's this empty thing coming from even? This comes from our proto thing, and I want to see where we're actually using empty. And that might be exactly the problem, that this is not used anywhere. Yeah, let's just get rid of it. And regenerate. And let's see if it now got rid of this. Okay, so somehow this thing stays around. And that's the problem. Basically, where is this thing? We need to just delete all the generated stuff. And I think what's going on is like, it just... okay, now let's regenerate. Now we shouldn't get this empty thing anymore. Let's restart this. But basically, we are successfully shooting bullets from the... And we basically... And you can see that sometimes I'm pressing and it's not getting generated, but... So you can see that the bullets are kind of flying like weird, right? Because they're not predicted yet. So actually what I'm going to do to make this more obvious is I'm going to go to the game loop and I'm going to make the update frequency very slow. So we're going to get like every second, let's say. I'm going to restart the server. And then we're going to also hot restart the client. And now you're going to see when we shoot a bullet, and that's kind of will be the absolute proof visually. You can see we shot. Okay. Okay. So we shoot and see, like, we didn't even see the bullet flying. It just already crashed. So, okay, so we are, it seems like we are maybe, oh, that's odd. Oh, because we're still emulating the bullet. Yeah. So what we'd actually have to do to really see this is to turn off client-side controlling. So basically, if we have the client game, right, and we basically in the update method here, we don't update the game controller. That would mean now we are not client-side predicting anymore, which means that if we shoot something, we would see the bullet flying slowly. So this is now the server sending us these updates. Now you can see that, right? The bullet went really slow. And so now this is, for me, is the absolute proof that we are actually doing this correctly. Very happy about that. But but let's do this. And also we want to, when we spawn, you want to basically already client-side predict this and not wait till the server sends us stuff. That's that. And then let's go back to the game loop and give us our reasonable update back. And let's restart the server. And now we are in this, so if this works now, we are in a spot where we can check this in. So we are sending this. The only thing that, okay, so here's an interesting thing, right? Why are the bullets disappearing? So let's see if the server is getting all the bullets. This one it got, and we saw it. This one it got, this one it got. Okay, this one it seemed to not have gotten. So let's just delete this. Because there's something odd going on here. So, shoot a bullet. Okay. So we have 3 now. Okay, let's delete this again. 1. Okay, so this one we didn't send. See that? The server didn't get that bullet. Okay, so that makes sense. Okay, so why are we not... So did we spawn a bullet though? Let's delete this one here. So... Okay, this one was spawn. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay, this one, the last one, at 5:35 was spawned over here, but it wasn't. It didn't get there. See that? So that's a problem. So what's happening is we are spawning it on the client side, but the server doesn't know about it, and so then when the server sync comes in, the bullet just disappears. Because the servers, because when we get the bullets, right, we clear our bullets. So we have a little problem. But for now, what I want to do is I want to check this in so we don't go overboard with all our changes. So basically, we'll just check. Why did our pub spec? Oh, it's because probably I updated Flutter, so it looks like that's why we got. So let me actually check that in separately. This sometimes happens. Like I basically updated Flutter to the latest dev channel. We actually have to use the dev channel because that's the only one that supports Mac at this point. So let's see. Okay, so I don't know why this is still part of it, but we'll have to be fine with it. So this is the update to that. So then here we're packing the bullets and stuff like that. It's a game set. Okay, so this is all related to that, except for that one little thing that is fine. Oh, and obviously we named that wrong under unversioned files, so we're gonna have to do an amend here. So why did this all go here now? Oh, because it realized we deleted stuff and then... Okay. So we're going to change the method with an amend as well. And we're going to say that bullets server receives spawns and sends bullet updates. Okay, so that's cool. I just want to figure out now how we can improve on this one little issue that we have. So basically what's happening is, basically when the game controller says we're spawning a bullet, and let's see actually where that's happening. So actually this is happening in the client state more likely. client game. So basically what's happening is we are processing the inputs, we update, and we spawn a bullet. We're saying we shot a bullet, and so that's the problem. Basically what's happening is the client basically spawns a bullet, but then it wasn't allowed yet to shoot a bullet, right? We basically have this the thing where input processor has a thing called actually this guy doesn't have it, but the synchronizer has something where it says, can we spawn a bullet? I think time next sync. I'm a little bit confused here, actually. There was somewhere where we had all about applying thrust or not applying thrust. So let's look. Let's try to find that. There must be somewhere else. Okay, here. Right. So basically, here the input processor, it says can apply thrust or can shoot bullet. So if we can't apply thrust, that means we are not doing so. And if we can't shoot a bullet, we should also not set this to true. And if we were able to shoot a bullet, right? Then we set this to true, right? So we set this to true. And then in the game, so here in the updates, it will then look at the player and will derive the player inputs from it. And then it actually should, so it should actually then shoot the bullet. It should actually then send the inputs. Let's just make sure that the equals method is actually correctly implemented. So shot bullet, yes. Hash code is correctly implemented. The clone method, shot bullet is false, yes. So that's weird, right? Because what's basically happening is that we are spawning a bullet, but we're not telling the server about it because we're not sending those inputs. That's the problem. So we also had this kind of clean up. And we have player controller clean. We need to just remove the bullet. Okay, we do that though. So we actually make sure that the player didn't, knows that, it's a new thing. It's a new game loop, and we didn't shoot a bullet yet. So this is really, really odd. Why this is happening like this? This might also be the same reason that we saw. Sometimes we apply thrust, and it seems like we are not actually seeing it. So basically, when I apply thrust, sometimes the server kind of resets me to here we go, right? Something was weird about that. So I'm not sure what's going on here. See, like that was like it's almost missing some of the thrusts that we are applying. So I actually want to see if basically this is a similar problem on that. So basically what we're going to do is when in the game over player server, we are actually going to look if the wherever we're logging that we applied, we shot a bullet, we're also going to look if we apply thrust. So actually that is inside the game controller, I think. Game controller, we're logging here spawn bullet, right? We're spawning bullet. So now when we also have to do this when we apply thrust to just get the idea if we have the same problem there, right? So here we have this, right? Player applied thrust. so here we're going to log the same kind of thing. We're going to say and then we're going to restart our server. And so I want to see if basically we are also basically missing out on thrust that we are applying. So restarting this guy. Okay, let's do it. All right, so I'm applying thrust. And we apply thrust here, and we apply thrust here. So I want to see if apply thrust. So here we missed one. So now we apply thrust 4 times on the server, but 5 times on the client, right? See that? So that means this is like a problem that we are, and that explains sometimes why we're seeing weird things with regards to the player position velocity, because some of the thrust didn't apply. So this is interesting. The thing is, though, that we are checking. I think what we need to do is we need to basically have, so on the input synchronizer, right? This is a problem, right? So basically, if time next sync is greater than 0, then we return, and so we don't apply. Let's just see, this last thrust, right, was fairly close to the previous one, right? So it might actually have been because our sync interval is too far apart. And so we're actually seeing these things happening a lot. What we should do, though, is that if we apply thrust or shot a bullet, we should send it no matter what, because we're already throttling that. So I think that's what we need to do. So in the input processor, we already have a delay. We already have a delay built in where basically we cannot shoot a bullet too often and we cannot apply thrust too often. So basically what we need to do is, so here we basically, the angle we don't need to send all the time, right? But, so obviously if they are the same, we can return immediately here, right? But if time next sync, but first of all, we're gonna have to put a variable here and say sync necessary, or force sync is basically if either the applied thrust, basically if the player applied thrust, or if the player, or we can actually use it as both inputs, right? We already have those inputs dot applied thrust, or the inputs dot shot bullet. And so now, if not force sync, or this reads weird, right? So basically we want to actually say if force sync, or this is smaller or equals to 0, then actually we want to sync. So let's just make it, this reads actually nicer. The early return that doesn't read that well. So basically either we're forcing the sync, or we basically already, we need to sync now. Then, right. And we can actually, oh, it's fine, right? Should sync. And this is basically, we could rename this to should sync, but this is fine. And so that's it. And so that should actually fix that problem. And this is now only client side. So if we clear this and we clear this and we hot restart, we should actually already see the effects without having to really even restart the server. So now I'm going to apply thrust and apply thrust. And I apply thrust 2 times. And you can see sometimes I'm pressing a lot of times, but it doesn't apply because it's already throttled, right? So now we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. And here we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Okay, so now we fix that. And I think now this should also fix shooting. So now we're not going to have bullets disappearing anymore. All right, cool. So that was a necessary fix. And we are also almost out of time. So I'm going to check that in. And at the end of this, we're just going to look at, can we actually see the bullets of other players now? We should be able to. So while I'm checking this in, I'm going to stop this guy, restart the server just to be sure. And, well, we have to actually first change the level. Simple level. We're going to put another player here. And we need to restart the server. And we're going to restart our client first, the first one, and then the other one. So this was actually smallest changes. So we changed the level. You're not actually going to check that in. But here we're basically forcing sync whenever, right, and we added some logging, but we don't have to actually, that wasn't a part of this, or that wasn't like the main thing of this. So what we actually want to do is check in the client and shared controllers, and then we say that this is basically client sync all right, cool. So now we should, oh, what happened? All right, now we should go here. It's building this still. We should be able to launch another client at this point. Well, let's just wait for it to build. Because right now we proved that we can see our own bullets, but the whole point is that we want to see the other bullets as well, right, for other players. I do not know what's going on with my machine at this point. It got very slow. Let's see what's going on here. Some fun kernel task, which I don't know what it is. Okay, fine. Fortunately, we are towards the end anyway, so all I have to do now is launch this other guy. Don't you just love OS X when it decides to do kernel tasks right when you're trying to have fun? I mean, OBS is not innocent either. It's taking quite a bit of CPU. But we'll live with it. We just basically have to get this game started, so to speak, and see that we can actually see the other player's bullets. That's all I wanted to demonstrate at the end of this episode. All right. Okay, cool. So we got two players. I'm going to move this over here if it lets me. All right, that was too far, but that's fine. So we can move this guy. We can shoot. Now, can you see over here, right? You can see it as well. So I'm actually going to try to move it closer again. All right, so, you can see it better. But basically, we can see this player flying around now, right? And we can see it shoot. And now it actually... So now it's really starting to get multiplayer-like, right? And this is like the last two episodes were actually really, it seems like we got a lot more done than in the previous 4. That's sometimes how it is. Like, you kind of like, you're working on stuff and it looks like you're not making progress, but maybe there's just a bunch of things that you need to get prepared, that you need to get figured out. And then when it all comes together, then suddenly, then it all comes together. And so now we actually have a multiplayer game, because now I can also go over here and move that guy and shoot over here, and then the other guy sees it. This is very, very nice. So I would say at this point, we are getting closer and closer. Obviously, we need to figure out that if we hit the player, that player will lose health and so on. But I would say the getting to this stage was probably harder than what lies before us. I mean, there are still some challenges, but we are doing really well. So make sure to come back to the next episode and keep watching and see this game become completed. So see you next time.